from the Ragnar Rookery, it's Chicken Peep Show. Hey everyone, sorry I was late today. I had a meeting for work, so I wasn't able to log in at the usual time. I may actually change the Friday show time because that may be something that will be ongoing for my workplace. So this morning, there hasn't really been much change, but the chicks, as you can see, are way, way bigger and way, way noisier. We've actually had them with a special feed today, and that was I went outside to the garden, got some wheat grass, and ground it up with some of their food so that they have an idea what grass is like and they'll get a taste for it. And as you can see, the bowl is completely empty. There isn't much grass left over except for a couple of little roots, which are at the bottom of the cage right now. So I'm just going to go with my usual clean of the cage because we've recently emptied out a whole bunch of sawdust, so they really do need a bit of a clean. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just gonna glove up. There we are. And get the scoop. Now, where is that scoop? Come to think of it, where's the sawdust? Igor! My scoop and sawdust! Thank you, Igor. So, those of you who are here on Friday, on Tuesday for Chicken Tonight, noted that Igor was being punished for his sins. Now, if you're wondering exactly which sin Igor is being punished for, it's the sin of breaking this beautiful scoop. So, we now have a new scoop that has cup measures in it. So, R.I.P. Blue Scoop, all hail Red Scoop. Just gonna loosen up some of this sawdust here and pour it in and cover up all those little poops. Don't mind me, just cleaning up your mess. We're still working on the video of the chick's first day out, which we haven't quite managed to download properly. We've had some issues with the camera that we were using to make the video, and so I'm just having a little bit of a time trying to get the footage. One thing to note is that as the chicks get way bigger, they're also having a much larger appetite. And their appetite for both food and drink has increased greatly. So this morning they actually managed to empty the entire water container. Not this morning, overnight, last night, I filled the water container and they managed to empty it entirely this morning and knock it over in their haste to get more water. So that's something that's different. Um, Despite the fact that their food intake has doubled, they've actually managed to empty their food container today, so I'm going to have to refill it soon. I'm just going to clean up over on the side where their sleeping spot is. The chicks have also been scrapping a lot with each other. There's been a lot more fights going on in the cage, and they have been posturing and working out their pecking order continuously. At the moment, Square is still the leader of the chicks, although Blue Diamond is making a close second. Let me just empty that out. There you go. There's also, as you can see, been a new obsession with digging, and that's because while the chicks were out on their first excursion, they actually discovered an ant nest full of delicious ants. And since then, they've actually been desperately trying to find a source of ants on the inside of the cage. This hasn't happened for them yet because I don't think there are any ants inside the house, but I have hidden two earthworms inside the sawdust, and I'm not entirely sure if they've managed to catch them yet. I'm just going to pull away the chicks' food temporarily to refill the food canister, because I'll show it to you, but it is actually quite empty. That's all the way down the bottom now. I might just put it down here for a bit and see if they eat any before I refill anything. So all in all, these tiny dinosaurs really haven't changed much in terms of what's going on. They seem very relaxed, and you can see that their wings are even more fully developed than they were previously. So that's rather impressive. They've also got growing tail feathers, and there have been a few cases of tail feathers being pulled a little bit as they still work out their pecking order. The good news is that we've just received word that the outdoor run is arriving. It's just been sent from South Australia and it'll be making its way here and should arrive probably on Tuesday. So that's always that's a little piece of good news there. So I'm going to leave you guys with the chicks. Feel free to ask any questions you may have, and I'll have a bit of lunch and see you all as I walk past. Just gonna quickly check on their water tube to see if they have enough water. Yeah, there's plenty in there. One of the newest developments with the chicks is that they've actually gotten strong enough to bowl over their food and water containers when either is empty. They're quite opinionated on what time they should be fed, and if either container is empty at a time when they are hungry or thirsty, they will actually knock it over. I better take that wire out so that they don't eat it. There we go. the chicks have gotten bigger, they actually no longer really need the chick plate for warmth. They're using it largely for shelter. They're actually large enough now to keep themselves warm, at least indoors. It's a little bit of a different question outdoors since it is much colder outdoors than it is in here, but we are giving them, we will be starting to give them more supervised time outside, especially since the brooder arrives soon. I mean, not the brooder, the outdoor run. As it is right now, you can see that they are actually rapidly starting to lose their chick fluff and feathering at a rapid rate. It's interesting to note that they haven't actually gone through that balding stage of feathering. They've just gone straight from chick fluff straight into feathers. They're a little slower in terms of the speed at which they run around. Nowadays, they kind of waddle a bit more than run, but they're still running and they're still jumping and attempting to fly. Hello to those who are watching from home. The chicks are just reaching a quiet time. They've just settled down after a big feed. I'm just waiting for them to empty out their food bin, but they're currently just mostly resting. can see here that they're actually starting to scratch and peck at their sawdust a lot. It won't be too long before they actually have to go outside and live permanently, as they are starting to get a bit too big for this little brooder. They'll probably be able to live in the brooder for about maybe a couple more days, another week perhaps. But their growth is very rapid, and they are starting to become more independent of the chick plate warmer. They don't need it as much anymore. You can see they're all crowded around here, right here, rather than underneath there. They're also a lot braver, and I'll show you, they don't run away from my finger as much as they used to. They're very calm about my hand now, and they will peck at it out of curiosity. Now the chicks here aren't very affectionate, and I don't think they will actually reach a point where they are very affectionate with humans. And that may be because, you know, they are not exactly the smartest creatures in the world. But either way, I'm just going to quickly grab this container over here and give it a fill, because they're not able to eat from it at the moment given how much it's been depleted. I'll be right back. Let's get that scoop. Here we go. Just a good refill for their food. Now we are monitoring their food intake very, very carefully. So last week they were eating approximately about 20 grams per chick per day. Now they're eating 40 grams per chick per day. Now if you're wondering what all the commotion is about, it looks like Chili Pepper has actually, Chili Pepper has found an earthworm and she's trying to get away with eating it, but the other chicks want it too. Let me see if we can show you the play-by-play as Chili Pepper runs around with her half of the worm. Blue Diamond's got the other half of the worm and you can see he's trying to eat it. And there it goes down the hatch. Now there are only 2 worms in the box at present, and tomorrow we'll see about trying to get them some crickets to eat from the local pet store, but in the meantime they're just going to have to learn to share. Looks like Blue Diamond's found the other worm. Oh no, that's Blue Velvet. If only I had a better camera set up, I could show you this play-by-play. It's rather like watching an interesting game of football. Sorry, production values. See if I can't get this camera to sit up straight. Hollandia93 asks if we're planning to hatch our own layer hens, and yes, that's something that we are planning to do over the course of the next month or so. Once, oh dear, someone's pulled on the wire. So we are planning to do that over the course of the next month or so. Once these have graduated from being in the brooder to outside, it takes about 21 days to hatch eggs. So we are currently waiting on an incubator, and we're getting the Genoa fully automatic 24 egg incubator, which is supposedly one of the better brands, more reliable brands out there for fully automatic egg turners. As for the... Oof! What on earth is going on? Dear me. Sorry about that, folks. As for sexing the chicks when they have been hatched, we're actually intending to put no crow collars on the roosters as they start reaching that age. And we will raise both roosters and hens until they're about 6 months, after which we'll do a cull of the roosters and keep the hens. We'll probably end up keeping a single rooster just as a guard for the flock, because having a rooster around is handy. They tend to assume a sort of stewardship of the flock, and they protect their hens and generally sort of herd the chickens around. So you get less behavioral problems if you have a rooster just hanging around. That being said, we'll be very careful to watch the temperament of the roosters, because we don't want to end up with a very vicious one. And viciousness is a bit of an issue with some roosters. They do get very protective of their flock. You can see there at the bottom that Aurora is actually doing a little dust bath there. I still have not managed to get the chicks to dust bathe in the actual dust bath, but they seem to be doing pretty okay in the sawdust. They really enjoy it. Now, we're coming to the end of our time together. So I will see you in another, it's 2 o'clock now. So that'll be another 6 hours for the weekly weigh-in. So from all of us here at the Ragnar Rookery, goodbye.